Tonight on ABC News Live Prime, top secret mission. An extraordinarily dangerous top secret mission gone horribly wrong, hidden until now. SEAL Team 6 in the middle of an aborted operation into North Korea that left unarmed civilians dead. Our Martha Raddatz has the details from Ukraine, where she just met with President Zelensky about Putin's invitation to meet in Moscow.
I always said we can't trust Putin. He plays games, and he's playing games with the United States.
Chicago braces for a surge in ICE operations this weekend on the heels of that massive immigration raid at a Hyundai mega plant in Georgia, in which 475 people were arrested, the majority which were Korean nationals, marking the largest sweep yet of its kind. A new jobs report reveals that only 22,000 jobs were created in August, worse than economists expected, and that for the first time in nearly 5 years, the economy actually lost jobs. The Trump administration ditches a Biden-era plan that requires airlines to compensate passengers whose flights have been canceled or delayed. What does that mean for your rights the next time this happens to you? She holds the record as the youngest female artist to write, produce, and perform a #1 hit on the Billboard Hot 100. And now in her new memoir, Debbie Gibson opens up about her journey as a young pop star, her lessons learned, and how she's learned to embrace her authentic self.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is Prime with Linsey Davis.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Stephanie Ramos in for Linsey Davis. Thank you so much for streaming with us. We begin with a bombshell report that sounds more like a spy movie than real life. A daring, middle-of-the-night mission behind enemy lines in North Korea gone horribly wrong. And that is according to a report from the New York Times. The Times says a secret Navy SEAL team was deployed to try to spy on leader Kim Jong-un by planting a microphone. Instead, the report says the U.S. killed unarmed civilians and then punctured their lungs so their bodies would sink in the water. This was apparently all in an effort to gain more information about the North Korean dictator while seeking a breakthrough in possible talks with him. And late today, President Trump responded to all of this. And we're standing by to speak with the New York Times reporter who broke that story. But first, Chief Global Affairs anchor Martha Raddatz leads us off.
Tonight, the extraordinarily dangerous top-secret Navy SEAL mission inside North Korea. The New York Times reporting SEAL Team 6, the same elite unit that killed Osama bin Laden, sneaked onto the shores of North Korea from a U.S. nuclear-armed submarine back in 2019, right in the middle of high-stakes nuclear negotiations between President Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. The SEALs' mission: plant a listening device on North Korean soil, a nuclear-armed adversary, to intercept communications from Kim, hoping to gain an edge in the talks. A mission so risky, said the Times, President Trump had to personally sign off on it. After months of practice, the Times reports that the U.S. ballistic missile submarine carrying the SEALs steamed through frigid North Korean waters in darkness. As the sub moved closer to land, the SEALs transferred to mini-submarines and headed for the shore. The elite commandos, wearing black wetsuits and night vision goggles to detect heat signatures, had no communications devices in order to remain undetectable. According to the Times, they expected an empty beach, but in the distance, a North Korean boat appeared out of the dark. Flashlights from its bow swept over the water. Fearing that they had been spotted, the SEALs opened fire. The mission was aborted. The SEALs then covering their tracks, swimming to the North Korean boat to make sure everyone was dead. And according to the Times, the SEALs then punctured the boat crew's lungs with knives to make sure their bodies would sink. It turned out to be a fishing boat carrying unarmed civilians. The Times saying officials told them it is not clear if North Korea ever found out about this classified mission. President Trump asked about the reported mission late today.
But I know nothing about it.
Can you confirm that it happened?
I don't know anything about it. I'm hearing it now for the first time.
North Korea's president met with President Trump just weeks after the failed SEAL Team 6 mission face-to-face in Vietnam. Again, likely not knowing the U.S. tried to plant a listening device on North Korean soil. And Stephanie, in the years that have followed, Kim Jong-un has only increased his arsenal of nuclear weapons. And again, as you heard, President Trump says he knows nothing about the SEAL Team 6 mission. Stephanie?
And Martha, you're in Ukraine tonight, where you just interviewed Ukrainian President Zelensky, and you asked him about Vladimir Putin's invitation for Zelensky to come to Moscow. Let's take a listen to that.
When you think about where we are right now, 3 weeks after the summit in Alaska, still no meeting between you and Putin. He said he will meet if you come to Moscow.
He can come to Kiev. You know, if a person doesn't want to meet during the war, of course he can propose something which can't be acceptable by me or by others, but it's understandable. I can't go to Moscow.
At least 7 other countries have said they would host a bilateral meeting. Zelensky said he would agree to that, but not Vladimir Putin. So a bilateral meeting seems dead for now. Stephanie?
A few options there. We will see if that meeting ever happens. Thank you, Martha. And for more of Martha's interview with President Zelensky, tune in to This Week on Sunday. Thank you so much, Martha. We want to go back to that Navy SEAL team story. We are now joined by New York Times national correspondent Dave Phillips, one of the reporters who broke that story. Dave, thank you so much for your time tonight. Really appreciate it. You've covered the military for more than 15 years, and the details in this story are just wild. Doesn't even sound real. When you first learned of this story involving this Navy SEAL team mission, what did you think?
Honestly, I didn't believe that we would put American troops on North Korean soil because it was too risky. It just seemed like even if there was intelligence to be gained, the risk of a hostage situation or even escalating hostilities with someone who has nuclear weapons seemed like that juice was not worth the squeeze. But as we reported it out, we kept finding more and more details that showed that's exactly what they did, not only at any time, but during 2019, when the United States was right in the middle of really high-level nuclear talks that promised a breakthrough. That breakthrough in denuclearization, it never came. We don't know if this mission and its failure was part of that.
Such a risky mission. I mean, you said it so well. Now, the commandos, right? They expected an empty beach, and then according to your reporting, things just went south pretty quickly. Walk us through what your sources say happened next.
Yeah, this is all top secret, but what we've been able to piece together is that 2 mini subs, both of them about the size of a killer whale, came into a bay on the coast of North Korea and parked about 100 meters offshore. A small team of about 8 Navy SEALs went to the shore, but while they were on the beach, a small fishing boat, something maybe about 14, 15 feet long, came into the area. It was shining lights. It was coming towards the area where the mini subs were parked, and the SEALs on the shore had no idea if this boat had seen their mini subs, which of course were their only means of escape. Not knowing what to do, the senior SEAL at the beach fired on the boat, and all the other SEALs followed. And within seconds, everyone on that boat, which our sources said was 2 or 3 people, was dead. Now, the SEALs went to the boat to try and figure out who this was, and they found no uniforms or weapons suggesting it was security forces. All the evidence suggested that this was some locals out to try to catch something to eat.
And this mission took place in 2019. When you learned about it, could you believe that so much time had passed and there had been no reporting on this and that no one had ever mentioned this mission?
Yeah, and that's not unusual for these types of top secret missions. I mean, it can be decades before they're just declassified. But what was striking to us is that as we dug into it, we learned that not even the leaders in Congress's intelligence committees, people who are supposed to be briefed on nearly everything of this nature, not even they were told. And to us, that was really striking because essentially there was no oversight.
And even President Trump says he doesn't know anything about this. He said he's hearing about it for the first time. Do you stand by your reporting? Is that true, what he's saying?
That's really tricky. I mean, not only have we been in discussions with the White House for some time before this published, but Mr. Trump can say that. And because this is a classified top secret mission, nobody in the Pentagon or in his staff who knows otherwise can contradict him without breaking secrecy laws.
Right. Now, if this had been reported on publicly at the time or just even a couple of years later, what do you think would have happened?
You know, I really don't know. We thought that this was the right time to do it because we're far enough away from the immediate operation that we're not going to jeopardize anything. We withheld a lot of details because there are things that we wanted to protect, abilities that the American government had that we didn't want to disclose. But also, we thought it was really important for policymakers and the public to understand some of these breakdowns in both the operation and the oversight that are hidden by secrecy laws.
Yeah, we're taking a look at some video there when President Trump met with the North Korean leader there in 2019, which apparently took place after this mission. Now, when did you and your team of reporters start working on this particular story? How long did it take before reporting it out in the Times?
You know, I don't want to say too much about the timing because this is really sensitive, but I do want to say something about what the North Koreans know or don't know. Now, it's probably understandable that if there are bodies floating in a boat in the bay, the local authorities in North Korea are going to find them, and they're going to start figuring things out. The Americans using satellites noted a surge of military activity right after this mission happened in North Korea. So North Korean authorities were scrambled. North Korea has never given any public indication that they know. And even if they did find these bodies, it isn't clear, at least until now, whether they knew, what had happened or who was responsible.
And now that this is out on stateside, have we heard from North Korea? Have you heard from North Korea at all about this particular mission?
So far, we have not heard anything, which in a way is not surprising. They have a very tightly controlled state-run press.
Right. Incredible reporting, Dave. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing those details. New York Times correspondent Dave Phillips, thank you.
Thank you.
Next tonight, nearly 500 people were arrested today during a massive raid at a construction site near a Hyundai plant outside Savannah, Georgia. It's part of a criminal investigation into allegations of unlawful employment practices. So why is the South Korean government expressing concern? Here's Chief Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, hundreds of South Korean nationals detained during a raid on a Georgia Hyundai plant, the latest sign of an ever-escalating and massive deportation effort by the Trump administration.
This, in fact, was the largest single-site enforcement operation in the history of Homeland Security investigations.
Video of the raid was posted by a local activist showing events unfolding inside the construction site of Hyundai's 3,000-acre electric vehicle plant in Elabelle, Georgia.
Our Homeland Security, we have a search warrant for the whole site. We need construction to cease immediately.
A show of force involving scores of state and federal agencies, including the FBI. 475 people taken into custody, most of them South Koreans. Hyundai says those detained did not work directly for the company, but for a network of subcontractors that the plant used. And another raid this week hundreds of miles away, outside of Syracuse, New York. Federal agents converging on this food manufacturing plant in Cato, New York. Co-owner Lenny Schmidt telling WSYR he believes all 69 workers detained were legally authorized to work in the U.S., and some have already returned to work.
I just think it was unfortunate the way it was conducted. I think it could have been conducted a lot easier and more proper.
The raids come as Chicago is bracing for an influx of federal immigration officials as soon as this weekend. ABC News has learned that the Great Lakes Naval Station outside Chicago will be used as DHS's base of operations, with hundreds of DHS officials involved.
And Pierre Thomas joins us now. Pierre, how might this affect the president's relationship with South Korea?
Well, Stephanie, as you know, South Korea recently pledged to invest billions in the U.S., and President Trump was just asked in the Oval Office whether the Georgia raid could signal a clash between his immigration agenda and his economic goals. He said if those workers were here illegally, Stephanie, they need to be removed.
All right, we will continue to watch this. Pierre Thomas for us there in Washington, D.C. Thank you, Pierre.
Pleasure.
The Trump administration plans to deport Kilmar Abrego Garcia to Eswatini, Africa. The 30-year-old national from El Salvador was supposed to be deported to Uganda last month, but an ICE official says he has claimed fear of persecution in at least 22 different countries, including Uganda. In response to this evening's news, Abrego Garcia's attorneys sent an email to ICE notifying the agency that Abrego Garcia expresses a fear of torture and persecution upon removal to Eswatini. His attorneys said that country has a well-documented record of human rights violations. And next tonight to the weak jobs report, raising concerns about the health of the U.S. economy. President Trump downplayed the numbers and touted the strength of the nation's economy late today. The U.S. added 22,000 jobs and the unemployment rate rose to 4.3% in August, nearly a 4-year high. The dismal numbers putting even more pressure on the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates. Mary Bruce reports now from the White House.
Tonight, a dramatic slowdown in the American job market. Employers adding just 22,000 jobs in August, less than a third of what economists expected. Unemployment rising to 4.3%, nearly a 4-year high. And revised numbers for June showing employment actually fell by 13,000 jobs, the first loss in almost 5 years.
The labor market is starting to show a real chill. Not only are workers who have a job frozen in place, unable to hop to a higher paying job elsewhere, but those who want a job are frozen out.
31-year-old Kyle Clark has worked for years as a technical editor, but he's been unable to find a job since April.
At the end of the day, despite how good or bad the economy is, I still need a job. I still need to pay rent. I still need to pay my bills. I like to eat. I like to, be able to afford groceries.
The president has acknowledged he won the election in large part because he promised to grow the economy and lower prices. Today, he downplayed the latest numbers.
We're going to have tremendous job growth.
He insists the economy is booming and is adamant his tariffs will spark a renaissance in American manufacturing. But the data shows the opposite. 4 straight months of manufacturing job losses.
Wait till these factories start to open up that are being built all over the country. You're going to see things happen in this country that nobody expects.
We've lost 78,000 manufacturing jobs since the start of the year. That's the exact opposite of what the administration was hoping for, but some of those job losses are in fact due to the higher input costs that we're seeing.
While the Federal Reserve has resisted Trump's pressure to lower interest rates, this weak jobs report making it all but certain they will cut rates to try and encourage hiring when the Fed meets in 2 weeks.
Mary Bruce joins us now from the White House. And Mary, the president today signed an executive order to rename the Defense Department the Department of War. Does he have the authority to do this?
Well, they are moving ahead with it, Stephanie. Tonight, they are already changing and replacing the signs over at the Pentagon. It's been the Department of Defense since 1949, but the president today signing that order, rebranding it the Department of War, saying it sends a message of victory and success. To make a formal name change, though, it does require congressional approval. The president, though, today glossing over that, saying, quote, we're going with it very strongly. Stephanie.
All right. Mary Bruce for us there at the White House. Thank you, Mary. Staying in Washington, President Trump offering some of his most straightforward comments yet in favor of vaccines, especially significant after HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy's contentious Senate hearing yesterday when he doubled down on his vaccine skeptical views. Take a listen.
It's a tough stance. Look, you have vaccines that work. They just pure and simple work. They're not controversial at all. And I think those vaccines should be used. Otherwise, some people are going to catch it and they endanger other people. And when you don't have controversy at all, I think people should take it.
Meanwhile, Democratic governors around the country are using their power to circumvent the administration's new vaccine restrictions. New York Governor Kathy Hochul, you saw her there, signed an executive order today authorizing pharmacists in the state to administer COVID vaccines to anyone without a prescription. On Thursday, the governor of Massachusetts ordered state insurers to cover vaccines backed by the state's health department rather than follow federal guidelines. And Hawaii, Oregon, and Washington have formed an alliance to offer vaccine guidelines. The response comes after the FDA approved COVID vaccines only for narrowed ages. And Kennedy's testimony yesterday in front of a Senate committee in which he repeated false and misleading health claims. Now to a deadly plane crash outside Denver. The small plane burst into flames. 2 people on board were killed. Here's Trevor Ault.
Tonight, a deadly plane crash outside Denver. 2 people on board killed, the explosion rocking a business park.
We did find a single-engine aircraft fully involved with a structure that was threatened.
Officials say the Beechcraft plane crash landed onto a data center this morning, half a mile southeast of Centennial Airport. First responders racing to extinguish the flames as they threatened a nearby bank of generators.
These generators were very large and it was a concern.
Witnesses heard the explosive sound of the crash.
We just heard a loud boom. We thought it was a generator at first.
Video shows the aircraft appearing to perform loops, practicing takeoffs and landings. And moments before impact, air traffic controllers trying desperately to contact the pilot.
Stanza 463 Tango, Tower, how do you hear?
But the pilot never responded. Another aircraft telling air traffic control the plane had crashed.
Tower, there's smoke off the left side. Looks like you went down.
Stephanie, investigators are now looking into the cause of this crash. There is some evidence this may have been a student or new pilot flying this plane. Stephanie?
Trevor, thank you. Next tonight, more than 30 million Americans from Tennessee to the Northeast face severe weather threats as we head into the weekend. Chief Meteorologist Lee Goldberg from our New York station, WABC, is tracking it all for us this evening. Lee, what's going on out there?
Severe storms are already, Stephanie, from parts of Tennessee into Kentucky. We've seen some storms near Nashville and Bowling Green with winds of 60 miles an hour, even some 1-inch hail. So this front makes a move to the I-95 corridor on Saturday. You're in Philly, New York. Front load your plans in the first half of the day because storms will come late day and evening. Some of these could have gusty winds, even an isolated tornado in the Hudson Valley of New York and into parts of northern New Jersey. The disturbance in the Atlantic, actually a lower chance of development. Dry air has been hampering development. It could still become a tropical depression next week, maybe threaten the Lesser Antilles sometime midweek. Still uncertain of whether it's going to become Gabrielle. That would be the next named storm. Akiko actually strengthened back to a Cat 4 hurricane, but overall going to still weaken sometime between Tuesday and Thursday next week. It impacts the Hawaiian Islands that goes over or just to the north of the islands with some dangerous surf and high winds and some flooding rain. But closer to home, the severe threat along the East Coast will be the big concern on Saturday. Stephanie?
All right, we'll be looking out for that. Thanks so much, Lee. In the wake of catastrophic floods, Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed legislation today to improve emergency preparedness at youth camps. More than 130 people died in July when historic flash floods tore through central Texas, including 27 campers and counselors at Camp Mystic. Under the new law, camp cabins must be away from floodplains, and camp operators must develop emergency response plans. Families of those who died at Camp Mystic had advocated for the changes and were present as the bill was signed. Now to the 75-year-old grandmother convicted in a murder for hire case. She orchestrated a plot to kill her former son-in-law. You're about to see the emotional moment in a Florida courtroom. Chief National Correspondent Matt Gutman reports.
Tonight, this dramatic moment in court as a 75-year-old Florida grandmother learned her fate.
The defendant is guilty of first-degree murder.
Donna Adelson convicted of the first-degree murder of her former son-in-law, Dan Markell, a Florida state law professor who'd been in a brutal divorce and custody battle with Donna Adelson's daughter, Wendy. Wendy had wanted to relocate her 2 boys to South Florida to be closer to her mother, Donna, and other family. But when a judge ruled against her and Markell refused to move, prosecutors say in 2014, Donna and her son Charlie, a prominent dentist, spun up a conspiracy, hiring a pair of Florida hitmen to murder Markell.
She thought about it. She planned it. She made sure we could never get her.
After the verdict Thursday, Markell's family addressing the court and Donna Adelson.
For anyone to commit such a cold-blooded, unprovoked act of murder is horrific. And my only short question to Donna, was it worth it?
Donna Adelson, like her son Charlie, faces a mandatory sentence of life in prison, Stephanie. And after court, the DA was asked by reporters if there would be additional arrests. Her response? Stay tuned. Stephanie.
Matt Gutman for us tonight. Thank you. The European Union fined Google nearly $3.5 billion today for violating antitrust regulations. The European Commission, the executive body of the EU, alleged that the tech giant distorted competition in its ad tech business, favoring their own ads over competitors. President Trump took to Truth Social to call the action very unfair and threatened to open a trade investigation. This is the fourth penalty the EU has slapped on Google in a decade of antitrust cases. Well, coming up here on Prime, as the government looks to roll back consumer protections, know your rights when it comes to flying. We're joined by the Points Guy, founder, to break down what you should know. Plus, imagine getting mistaken for being someone famous every day. One man says he's just sick of it, because his name is Mark Zuckerberg. He tells us why he's taking on social media giant Facebook and what he says is a David and Goliath showdown in the courtroom. And later on tonight in Prime, the stunning new images captured by a NASA telescope. You don't want to miss it. It's coming up. There are nearly 10 million passenger flights scheduled every year in this country, and that's according to the FAA. And in the case of delays and cancellations, the skies are already not so friendly. Now the Department of Transportation wants to roll back some consumer protections. Let's take a look by the numbers. Airlines used to be regulated by a federal agency that determined where airlines flew and how much they could charge customers. A bill signed by President Jimmy Carter in 1978 changed all of that. Since that deregulation, there have been 46 domestic airline mergers, leaving consumers with fewer choices. The big four airlines control 80% of the market. Now, that's the likes of American, Delta, Southwest, and United. According to the Bureau of Transportation Statistics, on-time arrival performance overall has worsened over the past 3 years. Last year, 78.1% of flights were on time nationally, and the flight cancellation rate was 1.4% in 2024. Which is also worse than the previous year. Last year, the Biden administration proposed rules requiring airlines to provide delayed customers with cash compensation ranging between $200 to $775. Rebook them for free, cover a meal, transportation, and hotel expenses. But the tide has turned. President Trump picked Sean Duffy as Secretary of the Transportation Department earlier this year, despite the fact that Duffy lobbied for the nation's big three airline carriers. And this DOT wants to withdraw the Biden-era rules, so guaranteed financial compensation and transparent pricing faces turbulence. For more on what this all means for travelers and what they are still entitled to, we're joined by Brian Kelly, the founder of the Points Guy. Brian, thank you so much for joining us tonight on Prime. So first, we just touched on what the Department of Transportation is planning, right? Why were the airlines so against the Biden-era consumer protections?
Yeah, and to be clear, this was just a proposal. So consumers haven't actually lost anything that we had before. This proposal would have been very beneficial to consumers. This type of legislation exists in Europe and Canada, where if your flight's canceled due to the airline's fault, there's clear guidelines on what the consumer gets. So what consumers do still have, though, is the right to a refund. That was actually passed by Congress last year. So I noticed there was some confusion on social media. People thought that the right to a refund was rolled back, but that is still in place. What's not going to happen, though, is you're going to get cash if your flight's canceled due to the airline's fault.
Interesting. Okay, so are you surprised at all by the DOT's plans?
I can't say I'm surprised. I think the Trump administration has said that they want, Congress to pass rules. That kind of goes in line. That was their reasoning behind this. They don't believe that the Department of Transportation should be, passing onerous regulations. That should be an act of Congress. So I can't say I'm surprised by this, but I am hoping, and people should still put heat on their legislators and the DOT, because Airlines for America, the lobbying group, is also trying to roll back much more. They submitted a 93-page paper to the DOT to roll back things like family-friendly seating, which the last administration was pushing the airlines to let families sit together for free, transparency in pricing, and a whole lot more. So we're not done yet, and I think consumers should raise up and let the DOT know that the airlines shouldn't self-police, because we all see what happens when it's left up to them. Consumers are left in the dust.
And Brian, I've been on plenty of trips where airlines have canceled the flight. I've gotten the meal voucher, help getting a hotel, and that softens the blow a little bit. It's not always pleasant, but let's just clarify here for folks that are watching, what might specific airlines offer exactly during major delays and cancellations, for instance?
So the only thing you are owed if your flight's delayed more than 3 hours domestically or 6 hours is a refund. Every airline has their own customer service policy where they get to choose what to give you if it's their fault. Now, if it's air traffic control, which most airlines will claim these days, you're really not owed any compensation. Some airlines might give you a voucher. Some airlines might rebook you on a partner, but especially if you're flying with low-cost carriers, you're pretty much owed nothing. And that's why it's critical for consumers to book your flights using credit cards with flight protection and cancellation coverage. It's a free type of insurance that many credit cards will automatically cover you for. So basically, the airlines don't owe you any compensation. Some might if they're nice and you beg for it, but really all you're owed is a refund if you choose not to fly or don't like what they're offering you.
Okay, that's really good to know. So what other tips do you have for travelers wondering how to navigate major delays or cancellations going forward?
So the biggest thing is sometimes you just need to take a cancellation or delay. And this is why frequent flyer miles are so important. Whenever I'm facing an airline cancellation, there's a 2-mile long line to speak to someone. I'm on my phone, I'm using my points, I'm booking another option. I know not everyone has that ability, but using points, having a credit card that'll reimburse you, and also understanding cheap can be expensive. When you book the cheapest airfare with the lowest cost airlines, you're also agreeing that when things go wrong, you are on the hook for everything. So when you book with the major carrier, that might be a little bit more expensive, but they generally have better customer service when things go wrong. But in general, you really have to look out for yourself, unfortunately, in America. And when flying to Europe, just remember, if you're flying a European carrier or an American carrier from Europe to the US, there's what's called EU 261 compensation, and you are owed it. Many airlines won't tell you it, but understand your rights when flying to Canada or Europe, where there are actual consumer protections.
This is all really great, really good tips. Brian, thank you so much. So helpful. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, coming up here on ABC News Live Prime, Mark Zuckerberg joins us live. Yep, nope, not that Mark Zuckerberg. An attorney from Indianapolis who shares the same name is suing Meta's billionaire CEO. Why this Mark, the Mark on the left, says he is owed money and an apology from the other, Zuckerberg. And later, we're joined by trailblazing singer, songwriter, and producer Debbie Gibson. She broke music industry barriers and topped the charts. Now, she's sharing her life story in a new memoir. Turning now to the legal battle brewing between Mark Zuckerberg, the lawyer, and Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Meta, formerly known as Facebook. Zuckerberg, the attorney, is a bankruptcy lawyer in Indianapolis. He filed a lawsuit this week citing negligence and breach of contract, saying Facebook has repeatedly shut down his pages for using a false name and impersonating a celebrity. According to the complaint, the attorney's business account on Facebook has been suspended at least 5 times in the last 8 years and allegedly takes months to be reinstated. Joining us tonight is Mark Zuckerberg, the attorney. Mark, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Do you think this is happening because you share his exact name, or is it happening to other people who share the same name as famous people?
I think it's happening because he and I share the same name.
I see. And how much money do you say you've lost over the years fighting these account suspensions?
I've had to hire a lawyer. I've been suspended a total of 9 times. And each time I get suspended, it takes a lot of time and effort to try and get my accounts back. So to be honest with you, I'm sick of it. And this time it's actually cost me money. So, most people would say that it's just Facebook and it's no big deal, and I would agree with them. But when it starts to affect my business and my ability to make money, and when they take my money and don't give me the benefit of what I paid for, I take issue to that.
You've said that not only do you say you have different middle names, right? You've been using your middle initial in your kind of like Facebook handle, but you're also different ages. What's been the response from Meta when you've reached out to them and said, hey, I've got this account, we share the same name, here's my middle initial, you're trying to differentiate, but it's just not working out?
Every time I get shut down, their policy and procedure is you have to file an appeal with them, and you have to explain to them why you think that the disablement of your account was wrong. And once you submit it, you have to sit back and wait. The last time this happened, I sat 6 months, my business account sat 6 months before I was finally able to get it reinstated. And I was only able to get it reinstated once I was able to find a live breathing person at Meta. This time I followed the same procedures. I got shut down on May 3rd. I filed the appeal, and it was only yesterday that I got turned back on.
When did this start? I mean, Facebook's been around for many, many years, early 2000s, right? If I'm not wrong. When did these issues begin?
It started when Facebook started.
So,
so
almost 2 decades you've been at this?
Yeah.
Wow.
It used to be if you Googled my name, you would find that I was Mark Zuckerberg, the bankruptcy attorney. Once the other Mark Zuckerberg showed up on the scene, you can't find me. I am so buried in the searches, I am nowhere to be found. And you would think a company that is supposed to be as sophisticated as they are would find some solution to stop shutting my accounts down. The world's big enough that there can be 2 Mark Zuckerbergs, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, so Mark, I have to share with you that we have heard from Meta. So in a statement to ABC News, this is what they had to say. We have reinstated Mark Zuckerberg's account after finding it had been disabled in error. We appreciate Mr. Zuckerberg's continued patience on this issue and are working to try and prevent this from happening in the future. Do you feel like this is an uphill battle here, going up against this social media giant?
I do. I feel like it's David and Goliath. And you know what? It's a nice and it's a wonderful statement from them, but it's wrong. I've lost my patience. You know, I've got better things to do than to fight with Meta.
So with this lawsuit that you filed this week, what in the end, what do you want to come out from all of this?
It's really fun to talk to you. It's nice to meet you, but I'd rather not talk to anybody. I just want to be left alone. I'd like to just go about my business, practice law, help my people. I'd like them to pay for the lawyers I had to hire to get my account back on. I'd like them to give me my advertising dollars back that I paid and didn't get the benefit of. And I'd like them to promise me that this isn't going to happen again. But, you know, I've heard that promise before.
Mark, we wish you the best. Please keep us posted. Let us know what happens. Good luck. Mark Zuckerberg for us, the Indianapolis-based bankruptcy lawyer. Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you so much and taking interest in this. Thank you.
All right, coming up here on Prime, the 100-year-old veteran who just got promoted, even after lying about his age decades ago just to enlist. Plus, the 13-year-old boy who wrangled in a fish bigger than him. That's all coming up. Southwest will soon offer free Wi-Fi on flights. WNBA star Caitlin Clark is out for the season. And the catch of a lifetime for a teen on a deep-sea fishing trip. These stories and more in tonight's Rundown. Southwest Airlines will start offering free unlimited Wi-Fi on all flights starting October 24th. It's through a partnership with T-Mobile. The only catch? You'll need to be a Rapid Rewards loyalty member. That's a program that's free to join. Customers have to sign up before or during the flight to access free Wi-Fi, which is open to everyone, regardless of their wireless provider. The Dallas-based carrier joins a growing list of major U.S. airlines like American and Delta that already offer free Wi-Fi to their loyalty program members. American Amanda Anisimova defeated Naomi Osaka in a thrilling U.S. Open semifinal Thursday night to reach her second Grand Slam final in a row. The 8th-seeded Anisimova will face number 1-seeded Aryna Sabalenka in Saturday's final. The American-born in New Jersey and raised in Florida gets another shot at winning her first Grand Slam trophy. This is the 5th consecutive women's final at a Grand Slam involving an American woman. The WNBA season is officially over for Hoops star Caitlin Clark. The Indiana Fever guard revealed on social media she will not be able to suit up for the rest of the year. Clark has been sidelined since mid-July due to quad and groin injuries. The WNBA star says in a statement that disappointed isn't a big enough word to describe how she's feeling. NASA's James Webb Telescope captured a dazzling glimpse at some of the newest stars illuminating the Milky Way. The massive cluster of young stars blasting out scorching radiation and glowing walls of gas, sculpting breathtaking scenes of yellow, white, and red. Some of these stars are more than 5,000 light years away and are almost 8 times hotter than the sun. At 100 years old, Marine Frank Wright was promoted to sergeant at a ceremony at California's Camp Pendleton. Wright was just 16 years old when he lied about his age to enlist in the armed services. The highly decorated veteran served in World War II. He was shot multiple times by enemy fire in the Battle of Iwo Jima and was bayoneted in the stomach while serving in Guam. Wright was honorably discharged in 1946. A teenager in New Hampshire reeled in a massive catch on a deep-sea fishing trip. 13-year-old Jackson Denio caught a 177-pound Atlantic halibut after fighting with the fish for about 30 minutes. Denio recorded the catch when they returned to the harbor, and his family said they will submit it for a world record with the International Game Fish Association. Denio said afterwards that he caught something else that day, a desire to get back out on the water and catch something even bigger. Oh, we all remember that song. What a classic. That's Debbie Gibson's Foolish Beat, the 1988 Billboard #1 hit she released when she was just 17 years old. Gibson still holds the record as the youngest female artist to write, produce, and perform a #1 hit on the Billboard Hot 100. And now, in a new memoir entitled Eternally Electric, The Message in My Music, iconic singer-songwriter Debbie Gibson is opening up about her journey as a young pop star, her lessons learned, and how she has embraced her authentic self. Debbie joins me now here in studio, and we are all so thrilled. I remember being a kid, early 90s, singing along to Lost in Your Eyes.
And you told me you used that as an audition song.
It was an audition song. I was a theater kid, and here in New York City, that was my go-to song.
That makes my heart so happy. Oh my God.
Just beautiful. But when you hear these songs, when you see a clip like that, what feeling does that give you so many years later?
I mean, the fact that that song, you know, songs are like these, like, imaginary friends to people, right? Like, they carry them along, and I'm not with everyone, but my songs are in a million places at one time.
Yeah, these songs have lived on for so many years. And now you have a new memoir. Here it is. We've got a book right here. The book right here.
It's actually real.
It's out. It's real. The cover is gorgeous.
Thank you.
Why now? Why did you think now was the right time to put a memoir out?
You know, I started presenting the idea to potential publishers while I was on the road because I was really one-on-one with my audience. Like, I was with the fans and the diehards and the Deb heads and Diamond Deb heads. Hi, guys. And there was just so much meaning in the connection. And I felt like rather than wait till it's like, oh, I have nothing else to do, so I'm going to reflect back. No, I'm going to do it while the party's going, while I'm feeling my most vital and vibrant. And I feel like people in the world are looking to each other for inspiration constantly. I'm looking to my audience for inspiration. They're looking to me. I felt like I had something to say and, you know, and a setting to, like, a context for it. The reason I call it Eternally Electric and the whole message in Electric Youth was that age has nothing to do with anything. It's about your evolution. And sometimes you feel like you're taking a step backwards if, like, I went through like the health problems and the financial problems and all these things, but really you're deepening the well of what you're going to pull from to move forward, and that those dreams are still ahead of you.
So you mentioned your mom and her being your momager. She went through great lengths to support you and your success. How pivotal was she in your music career?
I mean, she was. When I'm overtired and I get emotional, anybody who's lost a parent out there knows this one.
And you both were so close.
Yes, she was really my partner in, I could say my partner in crime, because we had a little bit of that mischief going. But she was my partner in creative vision. She learned the business. And when I tell you she learned the business, she could call out any attorney or any business manager if they were trying to rip me off, if they were trying to pull a fast one, if they weren't being thorough. She was like, you're gonna make it with or without me. So I really wanna help you. You know, and she did that for all of my sisters.
Yeah, that is wonderful to hear. And I mean, we're talking about the 80s. You were a trailblazer. At this point, you're writing, you're producing, you're singing, you're doing it all. You've got your mom there to support you. Did you know at that time that you were carving a path for other young women stepping into this industry?
You know, it's like I did and I didn't. Like, I knew that what I was doing was unique at the time, but I didn't understand why it was unique. So when I wanted to produce my music and my mom was like, well, let's get you the tools, you know, it was just like, you could see the men who were brought in to kind of help me or to, like, you know, listen to the demos. They're all kind of like, whoa, what do we do with this? Right? It was so new. So it makes my songwriter and my producer heart so happy now to have these strong, young, creative visionaries dominating the music business.
You've been on Broadway. You've got this new book. You just released a new music video as well for your song Legendary.
I did. Talk about doing it on my terms. This music video, I think I'm the most proud of this music video. It's such a labor of love. And it's really symbolic of that kind of solitary journey in a way that, like, a discipline is and a craft and becoming a legend, but also woven throughout the video is a message of what it means to be a legend. Also, to me, it's about rooting for people. It's about being inclusive. It's about being kind. And, you know, I think it's an empowering song and video, and I'm so proud of it. So thrilled with how it came out.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Thank
you for being here. You are an absolute legend, and it is an absolute honor to be here sharing space with you, empowering all of us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm so excited about your new book.
Thank you.
And you can pick up her new memoir, Eternally Electric, The Message in My Music. It is out September 9th. And that is our show for this hour. I'm Stephanie Ramos. Stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thanks for streaming with us.